I wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, technically, I was invited +1 for the annual informal team night, but I almost backed out 3 times. The first was when I saw the calendar invite and realized it was on a Thursday, not a Friday like I assumed. The second was when I saw how formal the casual rooftop gathering actually was. It was a full-on event, with name tags, assigned tables, and a dress code that should have been listed as cocktail chic. The third was about 10 minutes before we left the house, when I noticed how long Emily spent getting ready. The makeup, the new earrings, the dress she hadn't worn around me before. Black, slim-fitting, way more daring than she usually wore to work events. "You look amazing," I said, which was true. "That new?" She paused, just a beat too long. "Oh, this? No, I've had it for a while. You've just never seen it, I guess." She smiled, kissed my cheek. "Come on. You promised." "Right. I promised." That was the fourth reason I almost didn't go. Because she had to remind me. The venue was a rooftop lounge overlooking downtown Chicago. Sleek, modern, with glowing fire pits and string lights that tried too hard to look effortless. It was the kind of place that made you feel like you were interrupting someone else's Instagram shoot. I scanned the crowd as we entered, at least 50 people, probably more. I didn't know anyone except Emily, and even that felt kind of uncertain these days. We were only halfway up the elevator when she turned to me and said, "Hey, they split the seating. You'll be with the other spouses, I think." "Oh," I said. She shrugged like it was nothing. "It's just easier that way. You'll get bored at my table. It's mostly project stuff." I didn't push. I rarely did anymore. Her table was near the center of the patio, long and noisy, all laughter and clinking glasses. Mine was off to the side, next to the railing. A few other partners were there, quiet types, mostly watching the skyline or sipping wine. I spent most of dinner nodding through a conversation about someone's kid getting into fencing. Then came the game. One of the younger guys. Loud voice, blue blazer, clearly someone who loved being the center of attention, stood up and called for a team exercise. Everyone groaned, but no one stopped him. Okay, he said, hands raised. "It's called blind choice. You have to pick one person, just one, in this company who you'd go with to, rethink your relationship." He wiggled his eyebrows. Could mean anything. Just a quiet weekend together. Talking, exploring, deep reflection. People laughed, of course. Nervous energy. Someone muttered, "HR's gonna love this." And someone else tossed out, "This is how divorces happen, bro." But no one left. No one stopped him. Names started rolling in. Mostly jokes. One guy picked the CEO and said, "Got a network." Another woman picked her own husband and got a chorus of ahs and light applause. Some choices were strategic, picking the most obviously unavailable person or the intern or the guy who worked remotely in Denver. Then someone said, "Tyler," and my ears perked up. I'd heard his name before. Tyler, the operations lead on Emily's main account. She'd mentioned him more in the past few months. "Tyler's got it covered." Or Tyler said it might be delayed. I didn't think much of it at first. I figured he was just a coworker. But then it was Emily's turn. And she didn't hesitate. "Tyler," she said, smiling. Not a nervous smile. Not a joke smile. Just casual. Relaxed. Like she was telling the truth. The table went quiet. Not long, but enough to notice. A couple people laughed awkwardly. Then someone made the joke that snapped it all wide open. "Now we know why she doesn't mind working weekends." Laughter. Real laughter this time. Loud. A few heads turned toward Tyler, who smirked and looked down like he didn't know where to put his hands. Emily laughed too, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear, her cheeks flushed. I was already looking at her. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't blushing from embarrassment. She was glowing, excited, charged, like the joke had touched something real and private, and she liked it. She turned, briefly, and caught me watching her. Her smile faltered for half a second, then came back. Tighter this time. She gave me a small wave, like we were across the room at a high school reunion or something. I nodded. Couldn't quite make myself smile back. I don't remember the rest of the game. I don't remember dessert. I don't remember who won the raffle or what charity they were raising money for. All I remember is the sound of her voice saying his name without a hint of hesitation. On the ride home, she was in a great mood. Chatty. Buzzing like she'd just aced a final exam. "That wasn't so bad, right?" she said, kicking off her heels in the passenger seat. "You survived." "Yeah," I said. "Interesting crowd." "Ugh. That game was ridiculous. I was just trying to keep it light." I glanced at her. "You didn't think twice before picking Tyler." She laughed. "Oh, come on. That's the whole point, you just pick the first person who comes to mind. It's not serious." "Sure." She turned to me. "You're not actually mad, are you?" I kept my eyes on the road. "No. Just caught me off guard." "Trevor," she said, her voice softening. "It was a joke. You're the one I'd pick in real life, obviously." Obviously. We didn't talk much the rest of the ride. She scrolled through her phone. I watched the exit signs go by. At one point, she laughed at something on her screen and said, "Oh, Tyler sent me the worst selfie from that game. I look like I'm mid-sneeze." I didn't ask to see it. That night, lying in bed next to her, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, hearing her words play back in my head. The way she said his name, the way she smiled, the way she didn't even look over to see how I reacted. It was like I wasn't even in the room. I used to believe you could trust someone just because they said you could. That if someone promised they were yours, that meant something permanent. But that night, that game, it was like someone flipped a light on in a room I didn't know was dark. The thing that scared me most wasn't that she said his name. It was how easy it seemed for her to say it. They say trust is built in drops and lost in buckets. I used to believe that wasn't true, that if you really knew someone, trusted them deeply, it would take something enormous to shake that foundation. But after that night on the rooftop, after hearing Emily say Tyler's name without blinking, I realized how fast things can shift, how quickly you can go from certainty to doubt. It wasn't just the game. It was how natural it felt to her, like his name had already been resting on the tip of her tongue. And suddenly, all the little things I used to overlook didn't feel so little anymore. The next morning, I stood at the kitchen counter, pouring coffee, and I watched her move around like nothing had changed. She was humming, smiling to herself. She wore a light linen robe I hadn't seen before, and a delicate silver necklace, small, almost unnoticeable. That definitely wasn't from me. I'd given her jewelry before, birthdays, anniversaries, but this piece, I didn't recognize it. And when I asked, casually, "That new?" she didn't even look up from her phone. "Oh no, I've had it for a while. Just like the dress from the party. Just like the earrings she wore the weekend before. Little things. Always had it for a while. Always something I'd just never noticed. Maybe I hadn't. Maybe that was the problem. Or maybe that was the story she told every time something new slipped through. A few days later, I started noticing the late showers. Emily had always been a morning person. Up at 6:30, shower, coffee, out the door by 8 o'clock. It was part of her rhythm. Mine too. But lately, she'd come home late, kick off her shoes, say she was just going to unwind, and then head straight to the bathroom. The first time, I thought nothing of it. The second time, I asked if everything was okay. She said, "I just feel gross after work lately. Dry air, stress, makes me itchy." It made sense, I guess. But then it kept happening. Night after night. Shampoo bottles started moving around. Razors swapped out. Her towel always smelled like fresh conditioner. And the business trips started multiplying. Before this year, Emily rarely traveled for work. Once, maybe twice a year for quarterly trainings, always to the same client site in Cincinnati. But ever since she'd been assigned to that core internal project, the one she said Tyler was also on, she'd suddenly become a frequent flyer. "I'll be in Denver Monday through Thursday," she said once, sliding an itinerary across the counter. "Denver?" I asked. "I thought you hated those West Coast runs." "It's not the West Coast," she said quickly, too quickly. "And this is just different. It's a vendor workshop." "You said you hated workshops." She blinked. "Did I? Maybe this one'll be better." That was the thing, nothing felt solid anymore. Everything was fluid, shifting, slightly off. Words didn't line up with actions. Answers came too fast. Smiles felt rehearsed. One night, I walked past her office while she was on a Zoom call. The door was open just a crack. I wasn't eavesdropping, not intentionally. I was headed to the laundry room when I heard laughter. Her laugh, but different, soft, playful. Not the kind she gave me anymore. I peeked through the crack and saw her leaning toward the screen, chin resting on her hand, eyes glowing in that way people do when they're fully present. Mate. Comfortable. I couldn't see who she was talking to, just the reflection of blue light on her face and the flicker of her eyelashes when she blinked. But I had a guess. When I asked her later who she'd been meeting with, she said, "Just some vendor reps. We're aligning forecasts." I didn't ask anything else. I was afraid of how easy it was for her to lie to me now, or maybe how easy it was for me to let her. The moment everything started to really shift, though, the moment I stopped telling myself it was just stress or imagination or me being paranoid, happened in her car. We swapped vehicles that day. I had to take her SUV in for an oil change, and she needed mine to pick up some packages from work. She left her keys on the kitchen hook like always. I climbed into the driver's seat around 8 a.m., ready to get the chore out of the way before my meetings. There, on the passenger seat, was a small velvet pouch. Black, drawstring, slightly open. I picked it up and peeked inside. Earrings. Not just any earrings, tiny gold studs shaped like stars. Delicate, chic, not Emily's usual style. And the thing was, I'd already seen her wear these once. A few weeks earlier. She'd said they were a gift from a friend, though she couldn't remember which one. Maybe Jill? Or Amanda? But now they were in a pouch. In her car. Not in the jewelry dish on her dresser. Not in the bathroom drawer where she kept her daily stuff. Just loose. Floating between her day-to-day and something more private. When I asked her about them that night, I tried to sound casual. "Oh, those must be Jill's," she said immediately. "She rode with me to brunch last Sunday. Probably dropped them." "Did you tell her?" "What?" "That you found them." She hesitated. "Not yet. I just remembered." But it was the way she looked at me, her eyes not quite meeting mine, her hand reaching for the drawer too fast. That stayed with me. The lie was too ready, like it had been waiting in the wings. That night, while she was in the shower again, late, almost midnight, I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the drawer where she'd put the pouch. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I already knew the answer. That week, I started noticing more of the quiet things. Her phone, which used to sit face up on the nightstand, was now always locked and flipped over. She used to leave her laptop open on the kitchen counter, casually logged into Slack or her calendar. Now it clicked shut the second I walked into the room. She started using the guest bathroom more. "You always leave the seat up," she'd say with a smirk. But her skincare stuff started migrating over there, like she was slowly building a second life inside our own house. And there were moments she'd zone out completely. I'd be talking to her about dinner, about my mom's visit, about our anniversary coming up, and she'd nod, smile, but her eyes would be somewhere else, like she was watching someone else's screen, like she wasn't really here anymore. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I didn't have proof. Not the kind you can't walk back from. And maybe, deep down, I still wanted to believe it was all in my head. That I was jealous, insecure. That I was inventing shadows in a room that wasn't even dark. But the truth was I could feel it. In my gut, in my chest, in the way the air between us had changed. Emily used to kiss me with both hands. One on my chest, one on the back of my neck. Now her lips barely touched mine, like habit, like obligation, and her hugs felt like a formality, the kind you give someone you're not sure you'll see again. Every part of me wanted to scream, to accuse, to drag the truth into the light and demand she either admit it or fight for me. But I didn't, because the scariest thing wasn't that she might lie. It was that she might not. I came home early on a Tuesday. That alone should tell you something was wrong. I never come home early. My job doesn't allow for it, and even when it does, I usually stretch the day out, errands, the gym, anything to avoid empty hours. But that afternoon, a meeting got canceled, and I stared at my calendar for a long time before closing my laptop. No excuses left. No reason not to go home. The drive back felt heavier than usual. The radio stayed off. Every red light stretched. I kept thinking I'd turn around, find something else to do, delay the inevitable. But something in me needed to see the house. Needed to confirm whether the tension I'd been carrying was real, or if I was finally losing my grip. When I pulled into the driveway, Emily's car was already there. That was strange. She told me she'd be working late. Internal sync, dinner provided, probably another one of those, we'll just grab something nearby nights. The house should have been empty, quiet. I sat in the car for a full minute before opening the door. Inside, the lights were mostly off. No TV noise. No music. Just that low, lived-in silence a house has when someone's home but trying not to be noticed. My jacket was still on when I noticed the faint glow under the home office door. Not the bedroom. The office. I set my keys down carefully. Too carefully. Like noise itself had become dangerous. My shoes stayed on. I didn't trust myself to balance while bending down. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady in a way that scared me. I walked down the hallway slowly. Each step felt unreal, like I was moving through someone else's house, someone else's life. I remember thinking how absurd it was, how quiet betrayal can be. No shouting, no drama, just soft light and muffled sound. The office door wasn't fully closed. There was a narrow gap. Enough. I didn't mean to look. That's the lie I tell myself when I replay it. The truth is, I needed to. I leaned forward just enough for the crack to widen by an inch. Emily was sitting on the couch. Not at her desk. Not working. Sitting sideways, legs tucked slightly under her, posture relaxed. Comfortable. Too comfortable. Tyler was next to her. Close enough that their knees touched. Close enough that there was no space for uncertainty. He had one arm along the back of the couch, not touching her. Not yet, but clearly belonging there. They weren't talking. That's the part that haunts me. They weren't laughing, or whispering, or sneaking around like teenagers afraid of being caught. They were kissing. Slowly. Confidently. Like people who had done this before. Like people who didn't need to rush. No hesitation. No guilt. An open bottle of wine sat on the coffee table. 2 glasses. One half empty. One nearly gone. I could see her hand resting on his chest. Fingers spread like she knew the shape of him by heart. I didn't make a sound. I didn't push the door open. I didn't step inside. I didn't say her name. I stood there, frozen, watching my marriage end in real time. My phone was already in my hand before I realized what I was doing. Muscle memory. Instinct. Proof. I angled it just enough through the crack and took one photo. No flash. Just enough light to capture them mid-kiss. Her hair falling forward. His head tilted. Int asterisk mate. Undeniable. Then I stepped back. Carefully. Silently. Like I'd never been there at all. I walked back down the hallway, grabbed my keys and left the house. The door closed behind me with the same quiet click it always had. The same sound as every other day. Nothing dramatic. Nothing final. I sat in my car afterward, staring at the steering wheel, waiting for something. Anger, rage, tears, anything. Nothing came. Just a strange calm. Like my body finally stopped fighting the truth. There was no more guessing. No more dots to connect. No more benefit of the doubt. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I drove. I don't remember where I went. Somewhere with parking. Somewhere dark. I checked the photo once, just once, to make sure it was real. To make sure I hadn't imagined it. There it was. Emily. Tyler. My living room. I didn't delete it. I didn't send it to anyone. I just locked my phone and sat there until the sky started to change color. By the time I went back home, it was late. The house was dark. Emily was asleep on our bed. Alone. I slept in the guest room that night. Not because I was avoiding her. Because something inside me had already shut the door. And once it closed, I knew it wasn't opening again. I woke up before she did. The house was quiet in that artificial way it gets when someone is sleeping in the wrong room. The guest bed was too firm, the air colder somehow, like the walls already knew something had shifted. I lay there for a few minutes, staring at the ceiling, not thinking about anything in particular. No replay of the kiss. No anger. Just a steady, grounded awareness that the guessing was over. Clarity does that. It doesn't scream. It settles. I got up, showered, dressed. Normal motions. Muscle memory. When I walked into the kitchen, I noticed the wine bottle from last night still on the counter. Empty now. 2 glasses in the sink. She hadn't bothered to hide them. I didn't touch anything. I opened the hall closet and pulled out the suitcases. The big ones. I didn't slam drawers. I didn't rush. I didn't throw things into piles like I'd seen people do in movies. I folded her clothes the way she liked them folded. Shirts stacked by sleeve length. Dresses laid flat. Shoes wrapped carefully so the heels wouldn't scratch anything else. There was something almost meditative about it. Each item I packed felt less like a loss and more like an acknowledgement. This is yours. This is no longer ours. This doesn't belong here anymore. I didn't take photos off the walls. I didn't touch the wedding album on the shelf. Those could wait. This wasn't about erasing the past. It was about ending the present. 2 suitcases filled faster than I expected. I packed her toiletries next. Her makeup bag. Her skincare. The expensive stuff she'd slowly upgraded over the years. I didn't think about who else had seen her wearing it. I didn't need to. When I finished, I zipped the bags closed and placed them by the front door. Neatly. Side by side. Then I sat down at the dining table and opened my laptop. I removed her access to the shared calendar first. Then the banking app. Cloud storage. Streaming profiles. I didn't do it to be cruel. I did it because that's what separation looks like in real life. Not yelling. Not ultimatums. Just quiet, administrative lines being drawn. By the time I closed the laptop, the house felt different. Lighter. Emptier. Honest. She came home around 6. I heard the garage door before I heard her footsteps. I stayed where I was, seated at the table, hands resting flat, breathing slow. I didn't rehearse anything. There was nothing to say. She froze when she saw the suitcases. For a moment, she just stood there, keys still in her hand, eyes moving from the bags to me and back again. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. "Trevor," she said finally. "What is this?" I didn't answer. She stepped closer, her voice rising. "Why are my things packed?" I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and slid it across the table. The photo was already open. She stared at the screen. I watched her face change, confusion to recognition to something hollow. Her shoulders dropped like her body gave up before her words did. "I can explain," she said immediately. Too immediately. "It's not what you think." I stood up. "Don't," I said. That was the only word I gave her. She followed me down the hallway, talking fast now, panicked. "It wasn't planned. It just happened. I didn't mean for you to find out like that. Please just talk to me." I went into the bedroom and closed the door. I didn't lock it. She slept on the couch that night. I didn't tell her to, and she didn't ask if she could come in. For the first time since this all began, the silence felt final. The texts started the next morning. First, they were calm, polite, almost professional, like we were coworkers who'd had a scheduling miscommunication. "Hey, I know you're upset. Can we talk? Please. I messed up. I'll explain everything. I just need you to give me a chance. Please don't shut me out." I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish her. Not because I was angry, though I was, but because I had nothing left to say. The version of me that used to engage, to explain, to give the benefit of the doubt, felt like he'd packed up with her things and left the house before she did. She tried again an hour later. "Trevor, please, this wasn't just some meaningless thing. I was confused. I didn't mean for it to get this far. Please let me talk to you. You don't even know everything." No, I didn't, but I knew enough. She knocked on the bedroom door around noon. I was lying on the bed with a book open on my chest. Not reading. just breathing. "Trevor?" she said quietly. "Can I come in?" I didn't answer. She waited. I need to talk to you. I don't care if you're angry. Yell at me. Just don't pretend I don't exist." I closed my eyes. After a pause, she added, "I want to fix this. I want us to try." I sat up slowly. I didn't open the door. I didn't raise my voice. "You didn't choose me," I said through the door. "Now this is your reality." Silence. Then I heard her step back. Her footsteps down the hallway. The quiet sound of the couch creaking as she sat down again. She didn't knock again that day. That night, I cooked dinner for myself, just pasta, nothing fancy. She didn't ask for any. I heard her reheating something later. Leftover Thai, probably, and the microwave beep echoed like a fire alarm in the stillness of the house. She kept texting. "I'll go to therapy. With you. Alone. Whatever it takes." This wasn't about him. I swear. It was about me. About what I lost inside myself. "I never stopped loving you." That one made me pause. I stared at the message for a long time. "I never stopped loving you." People say that like it's a magic phrase. Like love is some kind of protective shield that excuses everything it fails to prevent. But love, real love, doesn't need a defense lawyer. The next morning, she was waiting by the door when I came out. I flinched a little, not because I was scared, but because I wasn't expecting her to be standing there, already dressed, already bracing. "I made coffee," she said quietly. "Like I used to." I nodded, walked past her, poured my own cup, didn't touch the one she made. She followed me into the kitchen. "Trevor," she started. "Please, talk to me." I took a sip of my coffee and didn't look at her. "Say something," she said, voice cracking. "Scream at me. Throw something. Just don't treat me like I'm not real." That was the moment I realized how deeply she misunderstood me. She wanted chaos, drama. She wanted to be punished. Because if I yelled, if I lashed out, it would mean I still cared enough to fight. And if I cared enough to fight, maybe there was something left to fix. But there wasn't. "I'm not doing this with you," I said quietly. "I'm done." She backed up like I'd hit her. "No, you're not. You can't just shut the door like that. We were married, Trevor. You don't just throw that away." "You already did." That landed. She pressed her palms against the counter, trying to steady herself. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. I set my mug down. "That's what scares me most." That afternoon, she sent a longer text. "You don't understand. It wasn't physical at first. I didn't even know I was falling into it. I felt alone. You were working so much. You were distant. I didn't know how to talk to you. And then Tyler, he was just there. And he listened. And he saw me. I didn't plan for it. I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear. It was always the same story, wasn't it? I felt alone. I didn't mean to. He saw me." Every message sounded like someone trying to drown their guilt in context. But what she never said, not once, was "I made a decision." There was no ownership. Just a string of causes and feelings, as if she were the victim of her own affair. She didn't sleep on the couch that night. I don't know where she went. Maybe to a hotel. Maybe to a friend's. Maybe to him. I didn't ask. Didn't matter. The next morning, she left a note on the kitchen counter. A real one, pen on paper. "Trevor, I'm going to stay at Amanda's for a few days. I know you need space. I'm not giving up on us. I know you probably think I'm selfish and broken, and maybe I am. But I still love you. I still see the life we built as real. Even if you don't want me anymore, I'll wait. I'll fight. I'll be here when you're ready." She wasn't gone for more than a day before I felt something shift. Relief. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't satisfaction. Just stillness. The kind that only arrives when something heavy has finally been put down. That night, I sat on the back porch, watching the sky turn that slow, bruised color before sunset. I thought about the version of us that might have survived. The version where she caught herself before it went too far, where she told me the truth, where we walked through the pain together. But that version wasn't real. You can't fix something someone else keeps breaking. I got another message the next morning. "Are you seeing someone?" came out of nowhere. No context. No lead-up. It made me laugh. A bitter, quiet laugh that didn't reach my chest. I didn't respond. What could I possibly say to that? About a week after she left, I got a message from a guy named Brendan. Said he was Tyler's colleague's husband, and he thought we should talk. We met at a small cafe downtown, neutral ground. I didn't know what to expect, but the moment he sat down, he slid a folder across the table without a word. Inside were photos, **TS, travel receipts, even timestamp texts between Tyler and Emily. It was more than confirmation. It was a timeline. Denver, Austin. Even one training weekend she'd said she was too tired to enjoy. Now I knew why. Brendan had tracked it all down after noticing his wife acting strange, only to realize the trail led not just to her, but to Emily too. We talked for an hour. Two strangers who didn't want to be strangers, not like this, but were forced into connection by betrayal. When I got home, I submitted everything to the company's compliance department. The policy was strict. No romantic involvement between employees on the same project. Emily and Tyler hadn't just broken vows, they broke contracts. For days later, they were both fired. She didn't text me about it. I didn't need her to. 2 weeks later, I heard about the farewell party for someone on Emily's old team. I wasn't planning on going. I don't know why I did. Curiosity, maybe, or the need to see the ending with my own eyes. She was there, laughing, drinking, taking pictures like nothing had happened, like her life hadn't crumbled under her choices. But in her purse was a white envelope. She found it when she got home. Inside, divorce papers and a short note. "You chose someone else. Now you're free." She didn't reply. I didn't expect her to. That night, I walked the Riverwalk alone, the same spot we once celebrated our 3rd anniversary. I didn't feel angry or vindicated. I didn't feel much at all. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged to myself again.